in the spirit of being bold, I want to talk to you about periods. Or rather, I want to talk to you about what happens when your periods finish. The menopause, or the change as it's called, gets a pretty bad press. But I want to take a few minutes to challenge that view. I hope you can see that. So, when you enter the reproductive part of your life, my memories of that are pretty magical. There were talks at school, books to read. I had a cupboard full of period paraphernalia, a good year before the event itself. My hormones were raging at that time. There was a whole host of peripheral firsts. First bra, first kiss, and finally, first period. And I remember when it arrived, my mum was quite emotional, and it felt like a proper rite of passage. I was a woman. Amazing. And then reality crept in, and the cramps, and it's a messy business, and then later on, I realised, oh shit, I can actually get pregnant. The novelty wore off, but still, with my rose-tinted specs on, I can look back at that time and it seems pretty fantastic. Fast forward 30 years to the time when you exit the reproductive part of your life, and I think the story's quite different. Menopause really doesn't get a lot of positive airplay. There's a lot of focus on the symptoms, so whether it's hot flushes, wrinkles, whiskers, weight gain, brittle bone syndrome, some women report having brain fog. It's just not a positive story at all. And I wondered why that might be. Then you've got to add into the fact that women get more bad-tempered as they get older, allegedly. You might actually become a grumpy old bag. So why is it that these labels get put on menopause? I wanted to put that in context for myself. I'm 47, and right now the state pension age for women in the UK is 67, so I've got 20 years of my working life to go. I'm probably only just over halfway through my career. But I'm also in the menopause, or rather, I've got this thing called the perimenopause, which is when your ovaries are starting to conk out, your hormones are kind of going into decline. I don't feel over the hill. I don't feel that old. I don't really feel past my best. So why is it that I've got all of these negative connotations with the menopause? Just to give you my first-person experience of the menopause so far. Got plenty of younger women in the audience, so this is all good stuff to come. When I was about 40, I went grey almost overnight, so this is the before and after picture. This is me in 2013 with these amazing long, luscious locks. A year later in 2014, ashtray grey hair, literally almost overnight. It didn't fall out. I had it cut off. The reason being is that nobody told me that when my hair went grey, it would also kind of turn like pubes on my head. Brillo pad, uncontrollable. No amount of hair straightening or conditioner was going to sort that out, so it had to come off. I also started to gain weight at quite an alarming rate, and my remedy to that was to start running like Forrest Gump. I run every day to keep that weight off. I know that that's not going to be something that I can do forever, so at some point I'm probably going to thicken up around the middle. But I'll put it off as long as possible. My periods, which had always been as regular as clockwork, went haywire. For me, they've got closer together, they've got heavier, and they're now accompanied by absolutely epic PMT. I am actually pretty grumpy for at least a couple of days a month. I didn't really join that stuff up together. I didn't realise what it was. There was also some psychology stuff going on, which was even more stealthy. I found myself getting more vocal and opinionated in recent years. I got more to say for myself. I can be pretty feisty these days. I think through my 20s and 30s, I was probably more of a peacemaker, a pleaser, heavy on the self-edit, didn't like to rock the boat. Not so much these days. I think I can be quite a handful, particularly if I'm talking about something that pings my passion and purpose. Again, didn't really connect the dots on this stuff, and then 3 things happened in really quick succession to make me figure it all out. One was I stumbled across a book called The Second Half of Your Life by a lady called Jill Shaw-Ruddock. I would recommend it. It wraps up the whole emotional and psychological dynamics of menopause in a really smart way. So I read that. I also went to the doctors because I was feeling at a pretty low ebb. My energy was low. I'd kind of lost my mojo. I went to see the doc. He wasn't that interested. He kind of said, "You got menopause, love." Tapped me on my shoulder, showed me the door and said, "Get on with it." So he really wasn't that bothered. Sadly, my husband was very bothered. And around about the same time that the light went on for me, and I thought, okay, this is menopause. I can do this. I can figure it out. I can get through it. My husband said, "You're not the woman that I married. I don't like this version." And we're getting divorced. Hey, presto. I'm in the menopause. I know what it is, but I'm also, overnight, a menopause statistic because a lot of ladies my age get divorced. It would seem the change is a really big thing for some of us. So I wanted to take the lid off this menopause thing and have a look at what it really means. And actually, it's massive. I mean, I suppose it's blooming obvious that it's massive. But right now, 13 million UK women are menopausal or perimenopausal. So they're in my shoes. And a full 60% of those women are going to experience some kind of significant behavioural change. It's not called a change for no reason, eh? Go a bit further, these statistics absolutely smacked me between the eyes. So by 2024, the global anti-aging market is set to be a whopping $280 billion. 30 billion of those will be spent on anti-wrinkle cream alone. And I can put my hand up. As well as the period cupboard, I've got the wrinkle cream cupboard. And it's full of lotions and potions. It's just underlining the fact that we don't really like the idea of getting older. In fact, we'd like to deny it altogether. So, I said I'd challenge the view on what menopause is. I want to give you the positive side of the story and what's been happening to me that's worth celebrating. When the urge to procreate kicked in my early teenage years, the creativity that I'd experienced as a child, the love of painting, making, singing, dancing, kind of dropped off a bit. I think I was probably just way too interested in chasing boys. But hey presto, in the last couple of years, it's come back full force. In fact, it would be fair to say that the last 2 or 3 years of my life have been, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most creative so far. And long may it continue. There's a fine line between creativity and insanity, and I'm really happy to explore that line as I look ahead. Connection. This is a piece of artwork that I created with 5 female friends last month in Belgium. We were celebrating our friendship. And if somebody had said to me a few years ago that I would be spending my free time doing that kind of stuff, I would have laughed at them and said, "Really?" I think probably we don't admit to ourselves as much as we should that while we're in those reproductive years, women are actually quite competitive. We're actually genetically programmed to be that way. To have a great career, to be a great mum, to have a perfect house, a perfect life. But as the hormones decline, so does that urge to compete. And I think that's a great thing. It means that what's left is a purer connection, a genuine sisterhood. It's fabulous. I've already spoken about me getting more vocal, but I think courage and conviction definitely comes with age too. We clock up some experience along the way for sure. We figure out what our boundaries are, where the edges are, what our truth is, and we're ready to step into that. For me, I've definitely become more vocal. I know what I feel, I'm prepared to say what I think. Me standing here today is part of that. I wanted to create my own rite of passage to say I am stepping into that second part of my life, and this is what I've got to say for myself. And then there's a piece around contribution. Certainly for me, heading into the menopause has been a deeply introspective time of my life. I've really thought hard about what this second half looks like and how I want to contribute. And I see women of a similar age to me having the same kind of thoughts. They're reevaluating how they want to be, what they want to do with work, whether they want to volunteer, how they want to connect with family, how they want to be with their friends. And I think it's quite right that we should do that. For me, part of it is around kind of thinking about the legacy that I do want to leave when I am actually an old biddy, and when I'm sat there looking back, hopefully on a life well lived. And when I look at menopause in those terms, through a positive lens, I think it's something worth celebrating. I'm hoping that a few years from now, I'll be able to raise a couple of glasses of Prosecco with my female friends and say, hey, it was a change. I got through it, I've come out the other side. I'm not holding my breath, though, because apparently menopause can last anything from a couple of years to 10, 11, 12 years. And I certainly don't want to dumb down the symptoms, because I think it can be quite a hard journey for a lot of women. But in the spirit of returning to the theme of today, I just want to say that actually, I think looking through the right lens, menopause has the potential to be brilliant. I think as we step out of our reproductive years as women, it gives us the opportunity to step into years when we might actually be productive in ways that we never really imagined possible. So my final thought to you here today is to say to women of all ages, whether you're through the menopause, whether you're in it, right in the centre of it, like I am, or whether it's just a glimmer on the horizon, take time out to think about what the second half of your life means and celebrate it, because women can be bold and brilliant at all ages, period.